Chapter 1. The interview is for verklempt. I was choked with emotion when I got off the school bus on the first day of high school. It was a whole new beginning. Maybe the fuckers from junior high would leave me alone, now that I had learned how to swear. Granny spent all summer teaching me the Chinese menu trick, one from column A, and one from column B. It took me a while, but I finally got the hang of it. Sometimes it works to call someone the word from column B by itself, but one time, I called one of the football players a balloon, and it didn't work so well. He blew hot air in my face. Maybe he thought I said baboon. I got lost on my way to math class. Some girl told me room 203 was the second one on the left, but it was the boys' room. I had to pee, anyway, but formed my plan to relieve myself on her picture in a urinal the next day. All I needed was to find an old yearbook in the library. Back in those days, I didn't have internet access, so I had to be sneaky about it. In fact, that's a skill I've used ever since the first day of high school. That night, I was so demoralized that I took solace in cranking Blue Oyster Cult and experimenting with blue eyeshadow. It suited my mood. Note my brown eyes. This look is fairly simple. It only takes a base layer of white, 3 different shades of blue, and a bronze eyeliner pencil. Don't forget to blend, blend, blend. Mommy only let me have brown mascara, so I had to steal her black stuff to complete the look. Brown wouldn't have been dramatic enough. The next morning, the other kids were making unwanted passes at me, and I couldn't figure out why. "I'm not gay, you motherfuckers," I would say, but the teasing didn't stop. It wasn't until lunchtime in the cafeteria, when all this blue flaky stuff came off on my hot dog, that I realized I forgot to take a shower that morning. My lunch tray was missing when I got back from the boys' room, where I tried to wash off the eyeshadow. "Which one of you cocksuckers stole my lunch?" I bellowed. "Do you suck your mother's dick?" People looked at me in awe. I had the bastards scared. Triumph was sweet. I spun around to storm out of the cafeteria, and bumped into a really tall guy who had been standing right behind me. He was nice about it, and grabbed me off the floor by the collar of my shirt. That was how I made my first friend in high school. He was on the basketball team, and used to let me hang around and watch him practice. I wanted to be on the team, but couldn't because I was a short shit. He and his friends used to toss me back and forth over the hoop. They only dropped me once. I landed on my head, but bounced like a super ball. Chapter 2. The Lid. The lid is the incident that made me hate high school the most. Let's get one thing perfectly clear: I did not pee my pants. That's a myth, and I'm about to bust it. Don't believe any of that shit you read on the internet. It's all lies. Here's what really happened. Mommy laid out my plaid shirt and freshly ironed jeans for me to wear to school that morning. Those were the jeans that didn't fit right. After English class, I ducked into the boys' room to check my zipper, because it had a habit of inching itself open little by little. After all, I didn't want to give the girls a free show, or anything. They'd have to pay $3 to read the guidelines for buying a ticket to that show, had he? Anyway, what I saw in the boys' room was indescribable, yet fascinating. It gave me nightmares for a month. To put a lid on my burgeoning urges, I went home that afternoon, finished my homework, and designed a new look. I call this the leopard, but if you'll look closely, my eyelids look like they're covered with tiny kisses from chocolate-covered lips. Here, pussy, pussy, pussy. Alas, no pussy would come anywhere near me. This took me hours to achieve, but it was worth it. After stabbing myself in the eyes a few times with a crayon, I discovered that it smears around a little better if I melt my crayon first, and paint on the wax. A little Visine and aloe lotion the next morning cools down the burn and relieves puffiness. After that, I began to hang around the locker room shower after school to watch the guys when they came in after practice. I never did go out for football because I would be the football. The guys horsing around, whacking each other with wet towels, made me so hot that I needed a shower myself, but was much too embarrassed to take one at school. Thankfully, I wasn't so sweaty when I got home. On those days when the team had practice, I rode my bicycle to school because I would miss the school bus home. Now, there was a locker incident beyond what happened in the locker room. The fat motherfucker did the book drop move on me, and shoved me into my locker when I bent over to pick up my books. 3 kids held the door shut until they got the lock turned. Finally, the principal heard me screaming, and let me out. There was a puddle on the floor in front of my locker, and I slipped and fell in it. That's how I found out how long a pair of jeans takes to dry. I plotted my revenge on the bastard. I was going to jump him on the bus Friday afternoon. That way, I couldn't get sent to the principal's office until Monday morning, and would have the whole weekend to revel in my victory. That night, I had a dream. I didn't just him. I actually jumped into the knee style, the person when I gave him a strong effort. I couldn't remember how fast that move was, but when done it will be done with ex-fugitives for about 2 hours a daddy that night. Chapter 3, The Crease. The big day came. I was ready to wreak havoc on the bully, drop him to the ground and make him beg for mercy. He'd be the proud owner of a couple of acres, and I would be a hero to all the downtrodden nerds and special ed students who got picked on by all the bigger, smarter kids. Just as I was about to pull the jackass aside and launch myself knee first into his crotch, a not-so-funny thing happened. Someone picked me up and slammed my ass against the window of the bus, and broke it. I swore my ass was broken, but it was only the window. People were laughing and pointing. The bus driver got me in trouble, and I had to pay for the broken bus window. Those fuckers were lucky that nobody had to pick glass splinters out of my butt crease. I wanted to sue the guy who did that to me, but I didn't know anything about getting an e-lawyer at the time. Help, we didn't even have email. Those were the days we had to walk 10 miles to school in the snow, barefoot, uphill the whole way, if we missed the school bus. Not like these namby-pamby mollycoddle kids of today who get their mommies to drive them to school. These kids were like all those wannabe horror writers out there today who want to steal the food off my table. That bus window cost a lot of money, and those pennies the kids threw at me on the bus every day didn't add up very fast. I had to give up pizza and McDonald's for months to pay for that bus window. Mommy took my TV away for weeks. I didn't like being grounded for something that wasn't my fault. All that time, I had a recurrent dream about being in jail, and woke up nearly every morning with wet sheets. That is how I got the idea for my mermaid look. To take my mind off being in a virtual jail with all those hulking scary men, and soothe my butt, I read up on the Loch Ness Monster, and imagined that there was one living in the Chicago River. Maybe he would come to me if I went with flashy sherbet colors, lemon, lime, coconut, blueberry, and strawberry. Maybe the lake fossil of my dreams would be attracted by the shimmer of my deftly applied finger paint. Maybe. This reminds me of the assholes who want to take my lake fossil away from me. They need to grow up and lose the high school mentality that they had 15 years ago. Back then, they were always playing tricks on me and having a laugh at my expense. Nothing has changed since then. I keep doing the same things I always did, hoping the faggots would react differently, but they never did. Bunch of babies. Chapter 4, The Lash Line. My fantasies were wonderful. They gave me a level of comfort I never have been able to attain in real life. In fact, I still rely on these fantasies. Then, as now, I would line up all my enemies against a wall, and go down the line with my cat o' nine tails, dispensing lashes. I can't have a firearm because of my medication, but I can own a whip. Some people say I'm just jealous of the success of others. They're nothing but a bunch of cock-sucking liars who are jealous of my genius. They fucking don't deserve anything but to be drawn and quartered by a semi, because they spent their whole waking lives trying to ruin mine, and not letting me enjoy my success. To them, I give the evil eye. See how my eyes change color when I'm feeling ornery. I am one who would take my passions to an extreme. To side myself up for the torture I am about to inflict upon my lineup of enemies with my lashes, I need something to get me in the narrow